This is the secret that could end civilization as we know it. America's nuclear arsenal, the 5,400 warheads that have kept global peace for 70 years, no longer exists. Not because they were dismantled by treaty or destroyed by enemies, but because the scientists who maintain them have quietly made them inoperable. Launch codes are corrupted in computer systems. Nuclear facilities report technical difficulties that prevent military access. The most powerful deterrent in history has been surgically disabled by the people trusted to protect it. And America's enemies have no idea they are now fighting a nuclear power that can't actually use nuclear weapons. This isn't sabotage. This is salvation. At least, that is what the physicists and nuclear engineers tell themselves as they systematically dismantle the foundation of American military power. They believe they're saving the world from nuclear war. They may have actually guaranteed one. It started 18 months ago at Los Alamos National Laboratory. Dr. Sarah Chen, a nuclear physicist with 30 years of experience maintaining America's nuclear stockpile, received a briefing that changed everything. The administration was developing new protocols for nuclear weapons deployment that lowered the threshold for first use. Not defensive retaliation against nuclear attack, but offensive deployment against conventional threats. The memo was classified beyond top secret, but the implications were clear. The political leadership was preparing to use nuclear weapons as conventional military tools. Small tactical nukes against hardened targets. Limited nuclear strikes to send messages to adversaries. The kind of thinking that turns nuclear deterrence into nuclear warfare. Dr. Chen had spent her career ensuring that America's nuclear weapons were ready to launch if needed, because she believed they would never actually be needed. The threat of launch was supposed to prevent launch, but now she was being asked to make them ready for a leadership that seemed eager to use them. That's when she started asking questions that nuclear scientists aren't supposed to ask. What if the weapons were technically operational but practically inaccessible? What if the safety protocols were so comprehensive that launch became impossible? What if the people who understood nuclear weapons best simply refused to make them available to people who didn't understand the consequences? The conversation started in the break rooms of America's nuclear facilities. Physicists at Lawrence Livermore, engineers at Oak Ridge, technicians at strategic command facilities across the country. These weren't political activists or peace protesters. These were career professionals who had devoted their lives to nuclear science and nuclear security. They had all reached the same terrifying conclusion. The people in charge didn't understand what nuclear weapons actually do. The political leadership talked about limited nuclear options and tactical nuclear deployment as if nuclear weapons were just bigger conventional bombs. But the scientists knew better. They had run the computer models. They had studied the atmospheric effects. They understood the radiation patterns, the electromagnetic pulse implications, the long-term environmental consequences. They knew that there was no such thing as a limited nuclear war. There were only nuclear wars that escalated into global extinction events. So they made a decision that has never been made in the history of nuclear warfare. They would protect the world from nuclear war by making nuclear war impossible. It started with routine maintenance procedures. Nuclear weapons require constant upkeep to remain operational. Plutonium cores need to be refreshed. Electronic systems need calibration. Computer codes need updating. It's meticulous work that requires absolute precision and complete trust. The trust was the first thing to go. Instead of updating launch codes, the technicians started introducing subtle errors that would prevent successful launch sequences. Instead of calibrating targeting systems, they implemented additional safety protocols that required multiple authorizations that couldn't be obtained quickly enough for first strike scenarios. Instead of maintaining plutonium cores at weapons-grade purity, they allowed gradual degradation that would render the weapons inoperative over time. Not dangerous degradation that would cause accidents, but careful degradation that would prevent successful detonation. The beauty of their approach was its invisibility. Every facility reported normal operational status. Every system showed green lights on command displays. Every warhead appeared ready for deployment according to all monitoring systems. Have you ever heard of the country that secretly gave up its nuclear weapons? It sounds like something out of a spy movie, but it actually happened. In the 1970s, At the height of the Cold War, South Africa developed its own nuclear arsenal. They built 6 atomic bombs, with a 7th under construction. The world knew very little about this top-secret program. But then, something incredible happened. As apartheid began to crumble and a new democratic government was on the horizon, the old regime made a choice. They decided to dismantle their entire nuclear program. In 1991, South Africa voluntarily destroyed its weapons, becoming the first and only country to build and then completely abandon its nuclear capabilities. It's a little-known story of a nation choosing peace over power. What do you think about their decision? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden histories. Nobody realized that America's nuclear deterrent was simply gone. The administration responded to these technical difficulties by increasing pressure on the nuclear establishment. More funding for maintenance, more personnel for operations, more oversight for performance. But the oversight was conducted by career military officers who had been briefed into the secret disarmament program. The additional personnel were recruited from the same scientific community that had initiated the program. The increased funding was used to accelerate the dismantling process. Every attempt to restore nuclear capability only strengthened the system that was eliminating nuclear capability. The most dangerous moment came last month when intelligence agencies detected preparations for a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. The administration wanted immediate nuclear deployment options to deter Chinese military action. For the first time since the program began, the nuclear scientists were asked to prepare weapons for potential actual use, not just display or drill scenarios. Their response was unprecedented in the history of Nuclear Command Authority. Every nuclear facility in the United States simultaneously reported critical safety violations that required immediate weapons isolation pending investigation. Missile silos were locked down due to radiation containment concerns. Nuclear submarines returned to port for reactor safety evaluations. Strategic bombers were grounded for nuclear handling certification reviews. The entire nuclear arsenal disappeared from military availability in less than 24 hours. The administration was told that nuclear deployment was temporarily impossible due to safety requirements, but would be restored as soon as investigations were completed. The investigations were designed to take indefinite time to complete. Meanwhile, the Chinese invasion of Taiwan proceeded without American nuclear response because American nuclear response was no longer technically possible. The Taiwan crisis revealed the ultimate consequence of the secret disarmament program. America could no longer credibly threaten nuclear retaliation because America no longer had nuclear retaliation capability. But the world doesn't know this. China thinks America chose not to use nuclear weapons because of diplomatic restraint. Russia thinks America is saving nuclear options for larger conflicts. Iran thinks America's nuclear threats are still credible deterrents. They're all wrong. America's nuclear threats are now empty threats, backed by weapons that exist on paper but not in reality. This creates the most dangerous strategic situation in modern history. America's enemies are still deterred by a nuclear arsenal that no longer exists. But deterrence only works as long as nobody tests it. The moment any adversary calls America's nuclear bluff, they'll discover that there is no nuclear response capability, no nuclear retaliation for nuclear attack, no nuclear escalation for conventional defeat. And once that secret becomes known, every nuclear power in the world will recalculate their strategic options based on American nuclear impotence instead of American nuclear dominance. The scientists who dismantled the arsenal believe they prevented nuclear war. They may have actually made nuclear war inevitable, because the only thing more dangerous than nuclear weapons is the illusion of nuclear weapons when your enemies discover the illusion is false. Right now, in underground facilities across America, nuclear scientists are maintaining elaborate charades of nuclear readiness while systematically ensuring that nuclear readiness is impossible. They're protecting the world from American nuclear aggression while exposing America to everybody else's nuclear aggression. They've solved the problem of nuclear war by making America incapable of fighting one. But they've also solved the problem of nuclear deterrence by making American nuclear threats meaningless. What if the most powerful military in history is just a conventional force pretending to be a nuclear power? This pretense holds up only as long as no one challenges it. But in the world of global politics, every bluff is eventually called. The scientists who developed these weapons believed they were preventing the end of the world. What if, instead, they just delayed it? What if the real secret, the one that could unravel everything, isn't that America has nuclear weapons, but that it doesn't, and hasn't realized it yet? When that secret gets out, the 70-plus years of relative peace we've known could shatter. The scientists saved the world from American nukes, but who will save America from everyone else's? It's a terrifying thought. The most dangerous moment in history won't be a missile launch, but the moment our enemies discover our weapons are just an illusion. The world is about to find out what happens when the lights go out.